Okay, give me a minute. I have a situation with cats and dogs here.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria.
Situation resolved.
Hello and welcome back, Vassals of Kingsgrave, for our 23rd episode of our linear reread to The Song of Ice and Fire. Today we will be covering June 25th of 299 through July 27th. I will be your host for the evening, Adam, also known as drownedsnow on the podcast of Ice and Fire forums. And with me we have Hannah.
Hey, it's Hannah and Shadowbaby on the forums.
Matt.
Varley on the forums.
As always, and Nadia.
Hi everyone, this is Nadia.
All right, let's just get started here with Tyrion 8. News of Renly's death reaches King's Landing in kind of a weird chapter. And I believe that's you, Hannah.
In this short but sweet chapter, we have the small council meeting to discuss the news of Renly's slice and dice up at Vaginapocalypse 299, the Shadowbaby cometh. Cersei wants to know who gave Renly his red smile, and Varys tells her, "Shh, baby girl, there's too many rumors blowing up his little bird's Twitter feed for anyone to know for sure." And they have a little bitch fest about how she's not interested in rumors, but he gets paid to gossip like a columnist for Us Weekly, and she threatens him that the small council might needs get smaller, and Littlefinger chimes in to verbally bitch slap Varys, saying that that'd be a great idea. And then there's some back and forth Mean Girl style cattiness until finally Tyrion breaks in to shut them up and deduces that Stannis must be behind Renly's death as he's the only one to have anything to gain by it. And how it's not good boding for them, as he was counting on the Baratheon boys to destroy each other's forces and make the crown's victory as easy as pushing a little kid out of a tower window. Varys lays out that much of Renly's host remains available at Bitterbridge or have already gone with tails tucked over to Stannis. And Sir Loras Tyrell is heading to Bitterbridge, and the small council needs to send an envoy to win him and the remaining Renly bannermen over to King Caligula before they go rogue. Cersei attempts to throw Tyrion under the baggage train by getting him to treat with Loras and Mace. He gives back as good as he gets, though, and says who better to go than the old Queen Mum. Ultimately, Peter volunteers as parley tribute, and the small council agrees to send him, although Tyrion's "I'm getting Littlefinger fucked" warning light goes off, and he wonders what personal gains and ulterior motives Baelish is plotting. Tyrion also has a flashback of discussing popping Joff's cherry with Varys to get him to calm his rage with a raging man would he. He and Varys lay out plans to part Joffrey Dahmer from the Hound long enough to wrangle up one of Chataya's girls to wrangle the Killer King's orbs and scepters. See if they can squeeze some nice out of him. They feel like he should blow his load before he blows his stack. He needs to stick a lady with his pointy end. He needs a big release of tension by releasing his little tiger. I mean, lion.
Done?
I've got more.
Okay.
Anyway, Peter says he'll take Whore and Slobber with him and give them back to Paxter Redwine as a gesture of good faith, while striking a bargain to win over Highgarden and the Reachlords. But Cersei says it's better to keep the twins as collateral to keep their Lord Father in line. And Tyrion puts forth that they'll release one and keep the other, and Redwine will understand the consequences of not coming to heel. Littlefinger also bids for horses, gold, and fighting men to get him safely to his meeting place. And a worn-out Tyrion says, "Fuck it, take whatever you want. If Stannis wins, it's all gone anyway." Peter doesn't stop there, though, and says that the crown will owe him a big one for his brave efforts. Cersei is all like, "Cut the shit, what do you want?" And Peter says he'll think on it and get back to them, although we know he's ultimately bidding to be Lord of Harrenhal. As the meeting concludes, Varys goes off to fetch quill and parchment to draw up terms and to wake the royal whippersnapper so that he can put his John Hancock on it. After the others go, Cersei asks Tyrion about how his chain is coming along. He tells her it's coming, and it's lucky that Sir Courtenay Penrose holds Storm's End, as Stannis won't turn his eyes their way until his ancestral seat is secure. Cersei tries to thank Tyrion for all his help and apologize for being completely bitch cakes with him, and says he must forgive her for her harshness. Tyrion replies, "Must I? You said nothing that you need to be forgiven for." She chides back, "Today, you mean?" And they have a big chuckle like it's the end of a Blackwater Baywatch episode. She even kisses him on the cheek because it's Cersei and, she loves her family. Shocked, Tyrion tells Bran there's no way in 7 hells Cersei is actually being sweet, and they need to find out what little scheme she's planning, and quick. End of chapter.
Yeah, Cersei
So was
is
there
so
any
weird in
innuendo
this
in there?
chapter, right? Was there only a little bit? Tyrion's chain was coming. That's about all I got out of it, right?
Yeah, something.
But yeah, I don't know. Cersei's one of those people that always thinks she's playing the game really well, and it's just I'm totally passing, But yeah, Tyrion's a little freaked out, as he should be. But I mean, she almost seems I don't know. She almost seems genuine, right? I mean, she can't be, but
I mean, once we get a POV from her in Feast of Crows, the other side, she's probably like, "Stupid idiot fool dwarf,
yeah.
I got you this time."
He doesn't even know what I'm up to. Yeah,
Right.
she's the worst.
Yeah, she wipes his dwarf cheek with a dagged sleeve immediately as soon as she leaves.
But I think you also kind of get the sense that Tyrion he wants to believe, he knows better, but he, I don't know, it would be nice if she was actually just being kind all of a sudden. But yeah, he's not that stupid, so.
Yeah, you can't blame him though for hoping that maybe for once he is doing his family proud and they're.
And it is interesting. They're hoping to lock down the red wine fleet, right? So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but she's kind of fuck him. We don't need him.
Yeah.
She's just so cavalier about everything.
Didn't we get some good brother-sister, love between Cersei and Tyrion last Tyrion chapter when when Tyrion just starts cracking up? He's like, "No, I can't. It's too much. The Baratheons are fighting each other." And then they have a good little bonding session.
Yeah, what's the chapter
bit.
when she's swinging him around the room or some shit?
Right. She picks him up and spins him around.
Yeah.
It's
That's
I was
probably
an
the only
excellent
time
tumbler.
she forgets herself and her hate.
Yeah, and I think that's the show did a really good job, during those sections of kind of having them have a moment or two, kind of outside their usual hate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Hate relationship.
Hate-lations. Yeah, I'm just mixing words together and butchering the English language. Okay.
Perfect.
So Tyrion is still not too worried. I mean, he's was expecting that Stannis and Renly would have to battle it out for a while. He wouldn't have to deal with them, but they also know that Storm's End is not yet taken, and this kind of gives him hope that they've got a little time, I guess, because Stannis isn't going to leave Storm's End outside his control, and we know that doesn't really help them much.
And when Littlefinger leaves King's Landing, is he already planning something? Because I'm assuming this is when he hatches his plan with Olenna Tyrell, right?
Right. He's got to be, right?
Or does he do that? After they arrive? Very eager to go off, right? He's very eager to get this sort of errand. Is he already planning something, or He just wants to
Well-
see what he can get out of it.
Do we know if he actually ends up going to Highgarden? Because he goes to Bitterbridge to meet with them, and then
But that's
he
where
is gone.
everyone is, right?
Well, not Olenna.
Well, yes, but they're assuming that he'd have to negotiate with Mace Tyrell. Marjorie is at Bitterbridge, and so is Loras. So I'm assuming Mace Tyrell is there too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
would
Mace
talk
doesn't
with
know
her.
anything. They can't trust that fool.
Well, that's why he's so easily manipulated, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the Sansa chapter when it all comes out, I think. But I don't know if it says. Although who the hell knows what fucking Peter's up to, ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's supposed to be always up to something, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but when you're reading it the first time through, you don't really pick up on this stuff. I mean, fine, Littlefinger is eager to go off, but then, like, at
That
the
part
end,
seems weird
this
the
is like
first
the
read.
middle of the second, right? And at the end of the third book, you realize that Littlefinger and the Tyrells were plotting together to kill Joffrey.
Well, I think the first
So
time I read it,
There are all
like, he
these
was
like
so.
little hints.
I was gonna say the first time I read it, I thought he was just like, okay, this city's about to get attacked. I want to get the fuck out.
Yeah, and I mean, he also talks about how there's no food, right? So,
Right, like he probably has the bread riots already occurred.
Yes.
Well, if not, he can see the
Well, the
sense of the
main
city.
riot hasn't happened yet, but
no,
I
yeah,
think
the
there's
riot
been
is
sort of
later.
So maybe he incites the riot too.
At one point when I think Tyrion is sort of saying that Sansa Stark isn't really that important anymore because her father was a traitor, and Littlefinger sort of is suggesting, yeah, you really shouldn't marry her for this and that reason. Is he already planning to get her away, or
For sure.
it's sort of yeah.
Well, Dantos has already reached out with her, right? So that
Yeah.
plan is already in motion.
And he's been from day one. He's been thinking about that, and as soon as her father died, I'm sure he was on that.
Yeah, because at this point, Cat is still alive, so he's probably hoping to get Sansa out and use it as a pawn to win favor with Cat, I would think.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because he doesn't really get ultra creepy with her until Kat is dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't really have a chance to so much before then, right?
But I think didn't he like inappropriately touch her cheek or something in the first book during the tourney?
Yeah,
or
like at
something?
the turning of the hand, he's
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
creepy
yeah.
cunt.
Mhm.
Like she's creeped out by it.
He's Uncle Creepy, yeah.
Creepy nuncle.
Ugh, that sounds even creepier.
Let's see, so do we have anything else to say about this other than sort of interesting plot to send Joffrey to a brothel thinking like, hey, the kid just, maybe he just needs to let off some steam and he won't be a monster anymore.
I think that's like one of my favorite lines from the show in this part where Bran says, there's no cure for being a cunt.
But it does crack me up because, I mean, that's another thing that the show played kind of well is, yeah, that doesn't matter to him. That's not that wouldn't have helped anything. So, all right, let's see. It's being wrote. Let's see. After Tyrion 8 on June 20th, we know that on June 23rd, Barristan departs Pentos for Quarth. That happens off screen. Meanwhile, on June 25th, we get Tywin on his march to the Riverlands, and we skip over a Theon chapter to get there. So that is Arya 8, where Arya decides to have Whis killed, but kind of realizes that wasn't very smart. So, that is me. Yes, that is me. So let's see. Tywin is about to march out from Harrenhal, and the castle is extremely busy. Sir Adam Marbrand marches out with his vanguard a day early. The castle is full of rumors of Robb's victory at Oxcross, and Arya is sent to run a number of errands by Whis, who doesn't seal the messages because he doesn't think that she can read. Arya ponders escaping, but knows that if she's caught, she'll be tortured by Vargo Hoat. And she's also promised to Capon, and Whis is kind of nice to her for a minute. She learns that Amory Lorch will be the Castellan when Tywin leaves, and we all know about him. The Bloody Mummers will also stay behind, and they don't really get along with each other. So Arya speaks to Gendry, and she mentions that Hot Pie took note that she cried Winterfell during the battle, and tells her that she must have just said go to hell, which Arya thinks is kind of a stupid thing to say, but it's like whatever. She considers having Hot Pie killed, which is kind of funny, I think. Like, well, this guy heard me say Winterfell, and he's getting suspicious. Let's have him killed. But yeah, she doesn't end up doing that. So then Whis sends her off to do a bunch more stuff and slaps her in the face, which she doesn't like. He also forgets about the delicious capon, which they were supposed to share. So she has Jacob kill him. And as just as it happens, she realizes that Tywin is leaving, and she kind of missed her chance. She really should have had Tywin killed because he was right there. But it's too late. Yeah, so that's mostly it. It's a pretty short chapter, and the murderous intent towards Hot Pie is kind of the funniest thing that happened, I think.
Right?
Like, oh, well, let me kill this, like, because no one's even listening. This kid has nothing going on. Like, he's not making her life hell. Like, at worst case, she could be like, yeah, okay, I lived in Winterfell, or I was, from the village there and I ran away, or, like, it's not a major problem at all. It doesn't require murder, but it's just funny that that's, like, the first place that she goes to.
So Whis sounds like, a horrible, horrible person. But I think that he would keep his word when he promises her the capon. That kind of was like, I can see it just like adding to his character, but the way he, kind of propounds, loyalty, it would, there's no reciprocity though.
Well, I think it seems to me like he was just so busy because there was a lot going on that he probably just forgot about it. He forgot about his moment of, kindness of like, we're gonna share a capon, which, like, and a capon, I don't know why George loves capons so much, but I mean, it's just a rooster, right, that's been castrated, and I don't know if that makes it more delicious or something, or I don't really understand why it's like a special thing, but everyone gets excited at the mention of capons in these books.
Well, I think it's probably just a status symbol that you have, like, you're rich enough to hire a rooster castrator, It's like that one guy's job.
Well, because, like, they don't get to eat meat very often, and basically they're just excited for chicken, but George is like, I'm going to make it a capon, because, that's worse or something.
Oh my God, I love your George voice.
Look, okay, in medieval times, capons were a delicacy.
Do you have the laugh down?
What?
Come on. Do you have the laugh down? With his little Twitter?
No, I don't.
Ah.
How does he do it, Varley?
But...
What's that?
Do it.
Oh, I can't. It's like, no,
well, in the
like
books. All right, guys. In the books, this just didn't happen. Okay. In the books, there are no potatoes, and everyone eats capons. So. But yeah, I mean, this is. I think this the main.
Hold on, let's thank George for joining the podcast there for a second and explaining that to us.
This is a huge get for us. Thank you, Sir R.R. Martin.
It's my pleasure. In the books.
My gosh. Yeah, in the books, I said I would never do an interview on a shitty podcast like this. Oh, dang it! All right. I think it's in the foreword for A Storm of Swords.
George, when's the winter going to be released?
Oh, you got me there.
No updates? Son of a bitch.
A man tells no secrets about release dates.
Hey.
But anyway, I think
have some green chilies.
I think the important part about this chapter is that it just kind of highlights, the way that Arya's been thinking about, murdering people and everything, and she kind of realizes, like, oh, I've been really stupid. Like, she didn't even really use this to her advantage to escape or anything at this point, So she's just kind of been like, all right, that guy was mean to me, kill him. Okay, sure. But at the end of the day, she could have actually maybe done some good.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, like, that she squanders all her kills, right? Maybe besides releasing the Northmen at the end, but, like, even that is like, meh.
I wish for my third kill to be 3 more kills. Hey, you can't do that.
Was that
Yeah.
the genie from Aladdin? Did he just join the podcast?
Oh no, I can't do that.
Robin Williams ghost.
But you would think that, yeah, you would think that maybe she could find a clever way to use like one name to kill multiple people, but I don't know.
Well, it's like
I
that
don't think that's how they
childlike
operate.
thing of just like thinking in the moment, you know, that person pissed her off.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is she? Well,
You know.
she's like 9, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, 9 or 10.
we expect, you always forget how young some of these characters are. So, we can't expect much more than what she actually did.
Yeah, but she realizes it almost as soon as she like says it that she's made a horrible mistake.
She's like, Weiss, I mean Tywin, god damn it.
Tywin. I want
I was
Tywin.
looking at Weiss and I meant Tywin.
I want you to kill Tywin.
Oh, that sounds adorable.
We usually think of Arya as this very sort of mature kid as compared to like Sansa, that she can like get away very easily with a lot of stuff. But in this chapter especially, she sort of really betrays her age, where she keeps thinking of plans of how she can get away from these because she's the only one who can read and the rest of them can't, and she could like really have used that to her advantage, but she just doesn't because she's so afraid of these.
And Weiss's nose.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like she could have gotten away a number of times, but yeah, it's just like, well, she doesn't really know where she would go or if she could stay on the run, and for someone her age, it's a very natural fear. But yeah, if she was just a little bit more seasoned, she could have used this to her advantage, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, she already knows. She acknowledges, like, I fucked up with Chiswick. He didn't matter. And then she goes and says Weiss, and then she's like, damn it. But I kind of, when I was reading it last night, I was thinking maybe it's because those people more recently have directly abused her, and some of the bigger names on her list were indirect abuses, but bigger abuses, and she might actually subconsciously want to save them for herself and not want Jaqen to just take care of that problem for her because she wants the blood on her hands.
I mean, I don't know if she's people on her list. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily that she wants to save the kills for herself, because I don't know if she's really gotten to that point where like she thinks she'll be an assassin or anything. But I do think that it is, these people are at hand and she can see, the justice delivered and everything. And I think that's a lot of what it is ordering someone dead that will eventually be dead that she's not going to see. Yeah, it's not very satisfying, especially for a child like that. So I think this is just like, it's close at hand and it's immediate, and it's the classic, genie 3 wishes thing. Like, I'm going to use these really good. I'm going to use these wishes. Oh man, I really wish I had a bottle of water. No, like it's that classic sort of like, crap. I was going to use my wishes and I didn't.
She can't really see the bigger picture, right? She hasn't really been in direct contact with Tywin. Not even with the Mountain, really. I mean, she's had sort of run-ins with Dunson and Polliver and whatnot, but with the Mountain himself directly, I think she hasn't really had that much contact. And especially with Tywin, I mean, killing off Tywin would have been this amazing move, which might have turned around the War of the Five Kings, but she's a 9-year-old. She can't be expected to.
Well, I think I'd have to disagree with you for the Mountain, because during that whole march by the God's Eye, like, she gets like, I mean, no like personal interaction with him, but like they describe like the Mountain's men like screaming and like raping women in the night, and like one girl like spit at one of those guys and the Mountain took her head off, and like just like the awfulness that was that long march. So I think she had enough interaction with the Mountain where it's like,
oh yeah, but none of it was personal, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, like, right, she was largely spared.
One-on-one interaction, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, but he was the driver of that whole environment of fear that like had her scared for, 2 or 3 chapters.
Is there gold in the village?
Exactly.
It might be like psychologically, you know how like when you're abused
Nope.
or you're,
Oh no.
well, I don't either, but when people have been abused or traumatized or their life has been chaos, they tend to direct themselves, not very necessarily consciously, but they always manage to get into chaotic situations because that's where their comfort zone is. So she might be thinking that these bigger ticket items like Tywin and the mountain are, number one, a little bit farther out of reach or too big to hope for, or if those names get crossed off, then she like doesn't have that to cling to anymore. Like it's really perverted, but when you've been wounded that way, you kind of tend to drift toward that. Not always on purpose, but it's just become what you've gotten used to, you know?
Maybe. I don't know.
All right. So, do we have anything else to say about this? I mean, this is kind of a pretty simple transition chapter with kind of 1 or 2 significant elements that will come up more later.
Do you like the part about Gendry at the forge and his bare chest glistening
Ooh.
with...
Yeah.
Oh, Nadia does.
You know, when I wrote that about Gendry, I wasn't expecting this.
Hey, George is back.
Yeah, no,
I think the actor from the show has really influenced that.
Yeah.
He was like, has he still not come back in the show? I mean, I haven't watched the last couple of seasons.
No, I'm
He's still
very
out there rowing.
surprised. I'm very surprised that they haven't found a way to
Yeah,
get him
just
back
to,
on the show.
Does that actor actually
Yeah, I was
work in anything
thinking
else?
she would meet up with him like when she left Bravos or something.
I mean, do you think
He
like
could have rode to Bravos.
do you think that actor is still like Dave and Dan to call? They're like, any day now. Gonna write you back on.
Yeah, he's like, they told me to go home and wait for the call, so I haven't taken any other jobs.
How
I would
shitty is
hope
that
not.
too? Like, well, we didn't technically write you out of the show, and then you never get a rap gift or anything.
Well, I will be honest though, is that I mean, to me, that seemed clearly like that character was done. You know,
I felt like
I don't know.
It was a bad close. But we've had
Yeah,
bad
it wasn't very well done, but it didn't seem to me like they were very likely to bring him back. But just because, you know, everybody for seasons is like, where's, you know, you could have just showed the boat arriving somewhere and then like goodbye or something, but they didn't. And so now it's, you know, it's a big joke, and I feel like since there's only going to be a couple more seasons left, at some point he'll show up somewhere that makes no sense, but he'll show up.
He'll show up at the wall.
Yeah, he'll show up beyond the wall. Like, yeah, the others are marching down, and he's just there in the forest, like chopping down a tree. Like, what's going on? All right, let's move on. Okay, so this is, we go forward 2 days somehow, but it's actually 3 chapters back in your books to Bran 5. So let's see, Bran Flakes. That is going to be Varley.
So this chapter is going to be called Introduction to Reek, Green Dreams, Their Outcomes and Interpretations, and Crackpot Theories. Hold on, I got a dog issue going here.
Is it a dog and cat issue or just a dog issue?
No, just a dog. Okay, so we get
his nose in it.
Yeah. We get the news from Oxcross that the Lannister army has been beaten. He says he writes this news from Ashmark, the former stronghold of House Marbrand. Do we get that in the Hedge Knight? I thought it was held by a different house.
No, Ashmark is Marbrand.
Okay, well, Then I was wrong. We get the fulfillment of the prior dream, Green Dream, where Bran gets a good cut of beef, but the Freys get shitty ones, but they like it even more. Crackpot theory, the first. Rob writes it was about Sevron Frey. It was not thought to be serious, but 3 days later he died in his tent asleep. I think Black Walder might have suffocated him. If it wasn't a serious injury and then he just like dies later. So
Didn't even
That's
think
not
about
even
that, but I
that's
love
not
it.
even crackpot though. I mean, in that family, yeah, you have to assume something. Anytime it's there's like a lame deer, someone's gonna come by and shoot it.
right, like it would have been like, oh, it was grievous and it took him 3 days to die. It was like it wasn't that bad, but then he died a couple days later. So the Big Walder and Little Walder show how awful they are, and then they go down the line of succession, and they even name Black Walder as one of them. And Little Walder says, "When do you think he'll be Lord?" And Big Walder replies, "I'll be the Lord. I don't care if he is." And this is another theory that it's actually Big Walder that kills Little Walder in A Dance with Dragons. Maester Luwin scolds them for not like giving a shit about their family. They're like, whatever. We get a little through this chapter. We get who's stronger. Well, Alebelly's almost as big as Hodor, but not as strong. But Osha is smaller than Alebelly, but stronger than Alebelly, or smaller than Alebelly, but stronger than Alebelly, because she's able to pick up Bran in her arms.
Because of all that ale in his belly.
Exactly, I guess. I mean, they talk about what's above the wall, and Osha says, "I've seen the giants, I've heard tell of the children and the White Walkers. Why do you want to know them?" And he says, "What about Three-Eyed Crow?" And she responds, "I can't say that I would want to." And I was wondering, why wouldn't she want to? Like, is that like some myth up there that would be like, oh, once you see the Three-Eyed Raven, you're going to die? So they talk about the green dreams and how they take weird shapes, and they talk about how he's dreamt that the sea's coming, and no one believes him, but kind of Bran does. Hold on, dog. Okay. Sorry. They say Bran finally tells him about his dreams, about how he likes the wolf dreams where he runs and kills squirrels, but sometimes he dreams of Three-Eyed Raven and how he says he's going to fly. And Jojen calls him a warg, and Bran's like, the fuck? And he's like, a warg, shape changer, beastling. That's what they'll call you if they should ever hear of your dreams. And then it gets really weird because it's like your own folk will kill you. They'll hate you for what you are. And Bran remembers that old man told him scary stories about wargs, and in the stories that they were always evil. So that gave a big eyebrow raise. And Jojen says that you have to open up your third eye, or else you'll remain chained as the winged wolf. We get a couple reactions of the prophecy of the sea coming. Mikken's like, "Oh, dude, I always wanted to see the sea. The gods are good. That's bringing them to me." Septon Chael is like, "Whatever. I'm a strong swimmer. I'm not going to drown." And Alebelly refuses to bathe because he's afraid that he's going to drown. We get the news that Roderick returns with Reek, and we get that awful news that they shot down the Bastard of Bolton while he tried to ride away naked. They wouldn't say what they caught him doing, but it was something horrible. That Lady Hornwood had been locked in her tower, and that the Bastard of Bolton neglected to feed her. And when they busted down the door, they found her dead with her mouth all bloody and her fingers chewed off. They talk about the politics of it. There's witnesses apparently to this shotgun wedding. I was wondering who they were, and how we're going to keep Reek alive because he can attest to the bastard's crimes, and if Roose Bolton is smart, he'll be like so appalled that he'll give up the claims to the Hornwood lands. Meanwhile, the Manderley Knights and Dreadford men are killing each other already. So I don't understand how there's like any love between them later in A Dance with Dragons, because they're already at war with each other. They learn of the Ironborn raiding the Longshore, blah, 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 and Jojen tells Bran of the green dream he's had of him, where the man that they brought in called Reek, you and your brother lay dead at his feet, and he's skinning off your faces with a long blade. And well, we know, from what happens later that they passed off 2 kids as them, so it's kind of weird interpretation. And Jojen just says green dreams do not lie. So, what do you guys think?
I think that Maester Luwin is super, super incompetent, and I would have never left my child alone with that fool.
I mean, not incompetent. I mean, when it comes to the green dreams and everything, it's just like everyone else. Like, no one buys this stuff. But the rest of it is not really his doing. So
my thing is just like, oh, well, this kid had a dream that the ocean was going to come and drown us all. And then he goes, well, they are raiding at the stony shore. Like, he puts it together.
But I think what he puts together is like you're having fears because the Iron Men, and that's why he's like interpreting this dream like a psychologist would kind of, but like he doesn't think there's anything to it. Like, it's just the kid is afraid because he's afraid the ocean's going to come, and maybe he thinks the ocean is the Ironborn, but what of it? Like, dreams are just dreams.
Yeah. I don't understand how like green seers are a thing, but wargs are like evil, and that's what really like shocked me. Is like Old Man said in the stories that they're always evil, and I know there's like theories about like maybe Bran's not on the right side here, so that kind of gave a little more weight to those theories. I think he's on the right side of not against the others, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just probably a historical thing. Like they don't even really believe in wargs so much, but the ones that we kind of know of were all villainous characters. Maybe they were all people beyond the wall, sort of thing. Like, there's no stories of like noble Stark lords that were wargs. So
it's like Slytherin House.
Well,
which doesn't even make sense.
But there are, because in the World of Ice and Fire, the Starks gain power by beating the Warg King and marrying his daughter.
Right, but like there's no like, Torrhen Stark was a warg, and you know what I mean? There wasn't anything like that. I mean, we see where like the blood would come from, and we kind of get that, but there's nothing like with Robb and Grey Wind, and there's no character like that on kind of the side of good in any of these stories.
Right, but I think, I mean, it appears that like all the Stark children are wargs to some extent, or they have a special bond with their wolves where maybe they're not completely controlling them. Like, yeah, she didn't get to do that, but I mean, even Lady acted like would listen to whatever Sansa said and go along with it, but
and was extremely polite.
Yep, exactly. But like maybe like at a time where they still like had dire wolves, there was, they didn't present themselves as a warg, but just maintain that like special relationship, and that's how their sigil came to be.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably like the whole like witch trial thing going back through histories. People fear what they don't understand.
Witches get stitches.
Haters gonna hate.
So, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about the big Walder, little Walder theory? I just found it very odd that even so early in the series, they just show like how flippant they are about the succession and how everyone will want to be a lord, and they really keep track of where they are in that line. And Big Walder's pretty much like, no, I'm going to be, and later on he becomes like the best buddy of like Roose Bolton.
Yeah, I mean I think like Walder Frey kind of fostered this, maybe unintentionally, by having so many kids and keeping them close, and all this, but they all realize that even though their family is kind of well off, it's the Lord is going to be the Lord, and once he's gone, most of the people in the line are going to be like, okay, get out, make your own way, rest of the family. So, none of them really want to leave the comfort I think they've had at the Twins, and they don't really have other options. Like, there aren't other lands or titles or anything for the Freys to have at this point.
Right, and it is Walder Frey's fault, right? Before, they were as cowardly or as whatever as any other family. They're just looked down because they're kind of newer. But it's his fault that he has all these heirs that he would keep on,
And he seems to give them all kind of the same, education and access, and, I mean, it's not like he necessarily treats, the people, closer in the line of succession any better. He kind of treats them all the same kind of crappy level, and they're all family, but he takes care of them. So they all seem to feel entitled to be the next lord. There's so many of them, right? That seem like it should be them for no reason.
Yeah, and maybe I don't think they go into it in the show as much as the book, but or maybe it was in the World of Ice and Fire where even some of the claims is because he loved my mom, they were married the longest, or they bring up weird reasons to go around primogenitor, or is that the word for the son, the male line?
I believe so, yes.
Progenitor, whatever.
And then,
but I think one of the interesting aspects of this chapter is Pina wrote here, I wonder what would have happened if Bran had told Luwin about the dream of Reek flaying Rickon and Bran's faces off, which is horrifying. And why would he have a dream about this? Would it maybe have, I don't know, would he have watched Reek a little closely? Would it have mattered? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's really weird that, later on we find out, what actually happened in that tower, that, Roose was smart enough to... Anyway. So Roderick seems he's if I need to deal with the Islanders, I'll deal with them, otherwise, whatever. Let the Tall Hearts deal with them. And he seems pretty pompous as well, but I guess he's pretty pompous throughout the series.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Boltons are always kind of hard to nail down. That they've never had really any love for the Starks, but they also have seemed to know their place for very long. And I mean, if it wasn't for Ned dying in the war and this opportunity, I don't think Roose would have ever made any play for the North or really caused any trouble like this. So
yeah, I found it really surprising because maybe I just don't remember it, but when they're the Manderleys and the Boltons are battling in the Hornwood, and I was just what?
Yeah, it's, and when you're first reading this, you don't really know who these people are or their significance at all. So it's just kind of a weird thing. Why are these people fighting? So they're fighting over the Hornwood lands, and which, I mean, even outside of a larger attempt to take over the North, that's something that does make sense. Minor lords squabbling over nearby property, because one of them is probably going to end up getting it, right? So, I mean, that's not even the sort of thing that would be a huge deal, I would think. Someone would, the king or the local lord would have to go out and deal with that and make a ruling or something. Maybe he would put someone else out there or split up the land and whatnot. But it's not like they would be traitors to the crown or something because they were squabbling over this land.
So why can't they just relay this message down to Robb now and have him judge while he's in the field? Does all justice be put on hold until the king gets back?
Because that would take too long.
Because that's not how George wrote it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, but practically too, you've left someone in charge, and they have the Raven system, which is not like a telegraph or something that you can easily get a hold of people all the time relatively quickly. I mean, you run out of ravens or people are out in the field. I mean, it could still be a month before you get, you hear back, and you probably should have already
a month
acted.
is better than indefinitely. Like, what happens to the Hornwood people during this time? It's like, fuck it. Well, they're just gonna have to deal until the king gets back.
Yeah, well, I think Sir Roderick should have handled this a lot better.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of on him.
And that might go to the incompetence of Master Luwin.
I don't know.
Rather than
I still disagree with incompetence, but.
Well, I mean, shouldn't the king have a small council that could deal out justice in the south, or at least, I mean, they have a Castellan, they have Easter, they probably have a castle quartermaster, they have enough people that should be able to make a decision and then report to the king this is what we did.
Yeah, and then you're accountable for it, and either he agrees or doesn't agree, and you deal accordingly after the fact, but you act swiftly, for sure. But that's not really on Luwin. I mean, maesters aren't supposed to be doing that.
But Rob hasn't really had the time to build the infrastructure, right? I mean, there hasn't been a king in the north for 300 years, so.
Yeah, and he didn't leave as king.
Yeah, exactly. They don't run things the same way when you're just Lord of Winterfell.
They left to there was no war when they left. I mean, they were sort of marching to war, but they were marching to King's Landing, and they were basically we're gonna hit the gates of King's Landing until we get Ned back and then get out of there. There was no real thought of alliances and the Riverlands and having to declare as king, and I mean, this is all a lot of stuff that was not planned for at all.
Yeah.
My thing with Luwin though is just if somebody told me they had a dream where a bunch of people were gonna die, I wouldn't just flippantly disregard it, just in case, No.
But you wouldn't take it seriously.
Other people dying all the time.
You
don't expect them to come true.
You can't make yourself sick over it or anything, but you might want to send a letter and be like, well, by the way, this lord that we have here, he's not just some rando dude making up crazy shit. He's a well-respected guest in our house. He's pretty convinced, and he has Bran freaked out, that these events are going to transpire. There are raiders on the stony shores. How would you like us to proceed?
Well, but if the dream was Iron Men are going to attack Winterfell, that'd be different. And I think that's the problem too, is the way it's so vague. It's the dream of a child, and I don't think he entirely
puts it together that it's Iron Men.
Well, I think I think he puts together that maybe the Iron Men are what is triggering this dream and this fear in Bran, but he doesn't put any sort of weight into it this is a prophecy or anything like that. He just thinks that this is where Bran's head is at.
Up until then. Where does it say that either Bran or Jojen are aware of that?
And when's it?
I just assume they would be, but I don't know.
Because that's
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah.
Luwin's not really cluing Bran in on every fucking thing that comes through the grapevine, and he's taking kind of a lot of liberties there on what Bran should and shouldn't know.
Well, he's supposed to be keeping him informed, but yeah, he might be a bit more selective than he should be. I don't know.
Bran is just 7 years old. You can't tell him everything, and you can't expect him to make a judgment on that information.
Yeah, I mean, most of this stuff is for kind of teaching purposes, and then Luwin and Roderick kind of have to deal with it. But in some ways they do listen to Bran a bit.
Well, yeah, but in what Hannah is saying, and the thing is, Luwin is a Meister, right? Meister is basically a sort of like a scientist in our world. So he's used to dealing with facts and reliable information, and a dream is just really
even more so than other maesters that don't have their it's the Valyrian steel chain, right? For studying the greater mysteries.
Yeah.
Like someone who has studied that and has that chain is going to come out even more like, yeah, none of this means anything because they didn't find anything.
Yeah.
It's like that dude who was a Bigfoot hunter and then was like, I'm going to give this 5 years. Because with everyone with phones on their cameras, if we don't get a Bigfoot sighting, it's bullshit.
Oh,
They
look who
gave up.
decided to show up just in time for his chapter.
Hey
I
guys.
was delaying just long enough for the army of Sir Paul to arrive.
The army of Sir Paul, the late Lord Paul. The late Sir
Yeah,
Paul.
we are about to move into Tyrion 9.
It's literally
good morning.
perfect timing. Yeah.
Real quick before we do that, what did you guys make of when Bran asks Osha if she knows how to get to the wall and beyond, and she says, yeah, you follow the ice dragon and look for the blue star in the rider's eye.
Right?
It's like a constellation.
That's like the other riding an ice dragon, right?
I'm still looking for that ice dragon, yo.
No, it's right before.
Yeah, you're
He's
there.
like, the giants and the children of the forest and the White Walkers are all up there, and Osha says, "I've seen the giants. I've heard tell of the children, but why would you want to learn about the White Walkers?" But yeah, it's like to go north, follow the North Star.
Yeah, she's just referring to the stars, right?
But it's weird that the writer would have a bright blue star for the eye.
All right, so let's welcome Small Paul officially. Are you awake?
Hey, go ahead.
Mildly. I'll tell you, that's the last time I ever hang out with Zach and his friends online late at night. Many things were said, many laughs were had, and many regrets are kept. But now I'm here. I'm rip roaring and ready to go.
All right, let's move ahead 5 days. Let's see, to July 1st, 299, we get the Right in King's Landing. And Tyrion 9. This is 6 chapters ahead in the order of the book. Take it away, Small Paul.
All right. Tyrion's watching from the flagship of the fleet, King Robert's Hammer, as he watches Myrcella say goodbye to her brothers and then get on her ship, the Sea Swift. Robert's Hammer will help escort Myrcella's ship, along with the Lion Star, the Bold Wind, and the Lady Lyanna, because it's pretty sketchy sailing right next to Stannis, who no word has come from. Initially, the plan is to get Myrcella to Braavos and then use the protection of the Braavosi to send her down to Dorne. Sir Aerys is going with her as her sworn shield. And the High Septon then blesses Myrcella and the ships, and then Bronn escorts Tyrion to Cersei, who is attended by Lancel, as well as 3 new Hedge Knights, who we soon learn are the Kettleblacks. But we also learn that Bronn is paying them for Tyrion to kind of just spy on his sister. As the ships leave, they head back to the Red Keep, and Sir Jacelyn Bywater leads the way, along with Sir Balon and Sir Aaron Santagar. They're carrying the king's banners. Then come Joffrey and Sandor and Mandon, and then Tommen and Preston, then Cersei, then Lancel, and then all the rest. Basically, the entire court has turned out to say goodbye to Myrcella. However, the peasants are none too happy with the royals because they are hungry as shit. A woman comes out of the crowd holding a dead baby, because that's always a crowd pleaser. And she starts calling Cersei a brother fucker, and someone throws some shit at Joffrey. He then orders Sandor to find the culprit, and then the crowd gets even more restless. And soon they start surging forward, yelling for bread. Tyrion tries to escape the crowd and makes it to the castle. Joffrey also makes it, as well as Bronn, Sir Mandon, Cersei, Tommen, Sir Lancel, Sir Meryn, Sir Boros, Sir Balon, and a bunch of the others. However, Joffrey is really pissed and starts saying they should kill them all. Tyrion hits him and kicks him because who doesn't want to? But then he realizes that Sansa is not in the castle, and then demands the King's Guard go out to find her, as Jaime is as good as dead if she is not kept safe. He then orders... Cerberus is hardly wanting to go out and save the girl he was beating earlier, but just in time, the Hound arrives with Sansa. She's somewhat wounded, and they send her to Maester Franken to see her wound. Sandor says Sir Aaron was held down by 4 men who took turns hitting him with a cobblestone, so he's kind of dead. Someone yells that Flea Bottom is on fire. Tyrion then orders Bran to take as many men as necessary to guard the water wagons and to make sure the fire is put out. Flea Bottom is expendable, but the fire must not be allowed to spread anywhere else. He tells Sandor to go too, and the Hound agrees, unfortunately. Tyrion sees the fear in his eyes for an instant and then realizes that the Hound is horrified of water. He then tells Sir Meryn, Sir Boros, and Sir Mandon to each take a herald to the different direction and tell the people to return to their homes. Sir Meryn refuses because he's a cunt, but Cersei lambasts him and forces compliance. Tyrion next wakes Shaga and orders him to guard Shay. By nightfall, the fires are out and everyone's gone home. Sir Jacelyn comes to Tyrion and gives the final tally. And here is the list of people who are dead or missing. The High Septon was ripped apart and eaten by the mob. Sir Preston was hacked and stabbed to death. And Sir Aaron had his head bashed in. Unfortunately, Lolly Stokeworth was gang raped, but she was found safe and sound afterwards by some guardsmen. And Tyrek, his cousin, and the High Septon's crown are both missing, with Tyrek probably being the more valuable of the two. 9 gold cloaks were also killed, and 40 were wounded. Tyrion orders that Tyrek be found, as he is a Lannister, and always kind to him. Sir Jacelyn warns that the whole city is against the Lannisters in general, and Tyrion in particular. They don't blame Joffrey for their ills, even though they should, as he is only a boy, but rather his counselors. Tyrion is misshapen and ugly, and makes a really good target. Tyrion is disheartened by that, but despite the fact that everyone hates him apparently, he tries to do some good. After Sir Jacelyn leaves, Tyrion has Podrick summon Bronn and Varys. Bronn suggests killing Joffrey so the more pliable Tommen will ascend the throne, a wise solution that people take into consideration later. But Tyrion refuses to kill his own kin. The 3 men get down to the business of trying to recover the mess of the Riot.
So that's quite a lot. This is a very significant chapter, I think, for a lot of characters, or at least the just this whole situation. I'm still waiting for the Adventures of Tyrek. That'll be coming out probably after Winds. And yeah, I don't know. This is just this is brutal. I mean, good thing you built a castle within the city to protect yourself.
It is just a massive information dump of who's been injured, who's been killed, who's missing, who's been raped, and you're just like, well, this isn't pleasant at all. But then you also just kind of realize this is, if you're a peasant, you're gonna have a little bit of pent up rage that is just,
there's no food, and
the fact that there's no food. When you go to beg for food, the king literally comes out and shoots crossbow bolts at you. And so I'd be willing to call his mother a brother fucker and throw shit at him too.
Wait, what?
Then maybe you get to eat, one of the corpses, so you won't be hungry.
Sure, I'll try it.
I mean, like on the show when this happened, like it did look like they were zombies, just like eating people in that one scene. So.
Game of Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Joffrey.
Secret whites below the wall.
Where's Joffrey?
Joffrey.
They craved brains, that's why they left Joffrey alone.
And then, of course, we get the Hound saving Sansa, and then that kind of just adds more to the, oh, good. He's actually a really good guy. Well, not really good, but somewhat decent that he saved one of our friends.
Also, he loves his horse.
Yeah. And then we also learned that he's also afraid of fire, which gets played into later in the book.
Yeah, but we figured that out since his face is burnt off.
Well, yeah, I don't think. Well, yeah, I suppose we could have just already guessed that one would be afraid of fire if one had one's face burnt off.
Okay. So we mentioned earlier, Paul, that Littlefinger's out of town and Varys isn't there. Which one planned the riot, or did it just happen organically?
I think it a mix of all three, because it's advantageous for people to be pissed, and so I'm pretty sure Littlefinger had at least a little bit to do with it. Tyrek vanishes, and no one can find him, even Varys, but the fact that Varys could easily just have had one of his henchmen in the riot just take him off his horse, that having a spare Lannister heir would be actually very useful for him. And then, yeah, and then you can understand why people are just pissed off about just not having food.
Yeah, the whole Tyrek Lannister thing is so weird. Like, if it comes up later, it's going to be really weird how. And I mean, yeah, I guess it could be someone like Varys decided that they wanted to have a Lannister in the pocket, but that doesn't seem likely to me. I mean, it seems more likely to me that Tyrek never really left, and we've been seeing him the whole time.
He's Tyrion. He's just pretty short. I mean, I do subscribe to the whole Varys taking him theory. Just because I do enjoy my conspiracy theories that, jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Tyrek's obviously taken by Varys. It's
but Dragonfire can.
But Dragonfire can, yes, because
yeah. So I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I just wonder why it hasn't come up yet. With where we're at in the books. I mean, I don't know. When would be the time to do that? I know, but when would be the time to reveal that, and what's the purpose? Like, would he just show up back in Casterly Rock, brainwashed or something, doing Varys' bidding? I don't really get.
If Varys
I don't get the end game.
If Varys had him, wouldn't he have said something to Kevin in the Dance with Dragons, been like, "Oh, but don't worry, I have a Lannister to take your place too," or something like that?
It would be a nice dig.
He enjoys monologuing, but not that much.
Can't give away too
He's
much.
like, I got the Targaryen.
He sits down in a comfy leather chair. Now to reveal my complex and maniacal plot.
Well, I'm going to explain the next 3 books to you in case they never get written. Oh, please do.
Stroking Sir Pounce on his lap.
Nice. Like
he does kind of look a bit like Blofeld. No, Mr. Lannister. I expect you to die. What? Of course you're gonna die. You've been stabbed multiple times by
I mean, if you listen to the audiobooks, like the Dotrice version of Varys is very like, cotton balls in the mouth, like
cock in the mouth, you mean? More like slobbery. Right?
I know where he keeps his man parts now.
Civility.
Please make cock in the mouth the bumper.
Anytime a bumper is requested, it is automatically excluded.
Well, fuck.
No, I'm kidding.
We'll use that.
I don't even know if I'm editing this one or not, but see.
Dina said she was editing, I'm pretty sure, because you took over hosting.
Well, I mean, I can, but she would get it out a lot faster than I would this week, so...
Well, yeah, she has 3 personal assistants that, take care of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's actually half edited already. I don't know how she does it, but yeah.
Sweatshop labor.
I mean, she just got here 10 minutes ago, so that's what she's been doing the whole time, right?
Cock in the mouth is actually already the bumper.
Ooh. Oh, it's on the WordPress page. Dang it, I'm going to comment on it.
You're like, we're still going.
Yeah. How is this up? what is going on? Yeah, live stream. Like, no one told us about this. Yeah. But yeah, I think this chapter really, it plays into a bunch of chapters later on. We come back to this a lot. I don't know. There's a lot that was done here, that maybe on the first read you don't really, you don't put as much weight into it. But I mean, even just like lollies and yeah.
So, how did I get it? Tywin and the Tyrells come, but how did King's Landing not fall from like within? Like they even made note of it that like half of the gold cloaks like will fucking turn tail and run once like Stannis hits the walls. Like, how are the people not like, get us the fuck out?
I mean, I think it's surely enough people being like, wait and see, because they have no options. They have nowhere else to go. They don't have supplies for even a short trip because there's no food. So I think there's enough people that are not yet at the point where they're going to try to tear everything apart, but they also can't really go anywhere or do anything, and it just barely hangs in there.
And you also have like the influx of Riverlanders who are just trying to find somewhere safe now that their lands are basically on fire because of the mountain.
You more people are slow riding. It's true.
Yeah, thanks to Tywin, who will save the city. At some point, are they just like, what the fuck, sack us? What are they gonna take?
Our Lord and Savior Tywin Lannister.
He giveth and he taketh away.
Yeah. He just shows up and fixes everything in the city, right?
I mean, when shit like this hits the fan, you gotta wonder, do the small folk even wonder about maybe going to like one of the free cities? Or do they just not even know about the free cities?
You need some money for a ferry, but if you don't have enough money for food, then you don't have enough money to buy passage on a boat.
You can row an oar. At least you'll get fed.
Well...
Yeah, but then if you're going to, like, Tyrosh or Lys, you're probably going to get enslaved then.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you're already rowing for us. Shackles on.
Like, what ship did I sign up for? It's called the Silence. By the way, stick out your tongue.
What do you mean?
I think I made a mistake.
I met this guy in the tavern, real nice. He got weird blue lips, but, he's very charismatic. And he then asked me if I wanted to see his horn. And I thought I was going to get something different.
He had one eye. I thought we could get freaky with the other one or something. All right,
I can just see it now, like, what is it, Lorathi people going around. Excuse me, ma'am. Would you like to talk about our Lord and Savior, the evil black goat?
Black goat is
That's Cohor.
Oh, is it Cohor?
The Lorathi just have a shit city.
Shocking.
It's all fucked up over there. That's all I know.
Do you have any unwanted orphans we could use for our smithing?
I did not remember Jack and Hagar being from Lorath.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah, but you just remember that he had this Braavosi coin, so you just assume he's from Braavos.
Yeah, like the Lorathi thing is kind of like, it definitely fades in your memory.
Yeah, and it's just part of the identity he's assumed for now, but still, it's just not something I remembered.
I mean, it might be easier for like someone just in this world to think him more of a Lorathi because he's got the red and white hair and he speaks really weird.
Is that what he says? Are the Lorathi then like red god people?
Lorathi don't like to use personal pronouns, apparently. That's why he says a man and...
Yeah, it's considered rude to use like I or you. But George didn't write that until the World Book.
Well, now it fits.
Yeah, do you think that he like already had that in mind, or that was just like his interpretation of how foreign people speak, and then he justified it in the World Book?
His interpretation of how what people speak?
Like foreign people.
Oh, okay, I thought you said
not
porn people.
I mean,
like,
he is from Arizona.
Porn is he watching?
No, sorry, New Mexico.
A man delivers a pizza.
A man gets one pump in and then is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very
I just wonder if he's like got some sort of like racist accent in his head when he's writing some of these people, and then gets a bunch of shit about it, and then the World Book will fix it.
I don't know. Why don't we ask him? Can we get George back on the line?
George, are you there?
I can only do
No,
George
I've
Lucas.
left. I'm sorry.
can't do.
I'm not here right now. I've left.
Oh, okay.
I'm working on wins. Okay, I'm like a quarter of the way through. It's going really well.
Oh, George, that's disappointing. All right. Well,
I mean, I'm almost done. Oh gosh. I'm hanging up now. Yeah, I just added 3 new POV characters. Whatever.
one's a Lothraki.
Lothraki. A man rides horses. So the book owner thinks that, like, we were going to get the book this year, which I don't think is possible anymore. But
Well, we just got the 20th
I
edition.
think it turned out to be the illustrated edition of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But
The book owner doesn't even have a name anymore.
no. If you don't know who that is, then you're not following on.
If you dare use his name, he'll come for you.
We're like 3 weeks away from the NFL season, so yeah. No work's getting done on that book for a while.
And the Giants might actually be decent this year. So that might...
You mean the Jets?
What, does that epic
The
nerd
Giants
actually
fan, too.
care about football?
What?
George.
Yes.
Can we get George back on the line to tell this newbie how much he cares about football?
Yeah. I suffered through Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, no, he's like, he posts like,
Yeah, do you follow his blog?
yeah, if he like
Ain't nobody got time for
matches
that
like
shit.
puppy wars, like kind of posts like regarding the Giants and Jets every week.
Yeah, he writes really long posts sometimes about football.
Oh my god.
If only he would put it towards his book.
Well, when's winter is going to have a new sport in Westeros.
Well, wasn't that Hannah? You didn't hear that in A Dance with Dragons? He put his buddy in as the Knight of the One Star, and the Giant crushes him, and that's the Knight's supposed to be a cowboy, and the Giant is the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Do we have anything else to cover? Yes, no, maybe? No? Okay. So, thank you for joining us. And let's see, next episode 24, I believe that's going to be Patrick. And we'll be covering July 20th of 299 through August 15th. That is Tyrion 3, Jon 4, Jon 5, and Bran 6. There you have it.
Hopefully, sometime after this is done, people can tune into the Tolkien Trivia Night, which I think, it's recorded tonight.
Tonight at
Can anyone
9?
join?
I already have the contestants, but you can join in as an audience member and just
On the Price is Right.
scream the praises of Tolkien.
Oh, I forgot to check in on that. Oh well. Yeah, so that'll be fun. And The Hobbit part 1 will be coming out.
Greg sent me a
When are we
to
doing
record
part 2?
part 2. Yeah, I was about to say I need to schedule part 2, and then I'll probably put it up a couple days before we record that, so they can be kind of close together.
And don't worry, we're not doing a part 3 because we don't want to overextend.
Yeah,
ourselves.
it will only be 2 parts as originally intended. There will never be 3. That's just not going to happen because my name is not Peter Jackson. So, all right, I gotta go.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Talk to you guys later.
Bye.